Let's build Icejades. This is my water thing. I'm in water. It's because it's ice is whatever. Go roll the thing. And welcome back to Let's Build, the show where I take a deck or archetype I have never seen before and try my best to learn it on stream. I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, joined as always by my co-host Critter, as well as Twitch Chad, who is here just chilling out with me, just being cool, being ice guys, if you know what I mean. Isn't that right? Cool cats. Uni-Zamboni, ice cream. They're not great at the ice puns, but they do their best, and they're here today to help me learn Icejades, which is one of the newer archetypes I've looked at. This has been coming out, I believe, all this year. I've seen bits and pieces of this because it feels like every set has a couple of these in it, and yet I don't think I've ever played against Icejades. Maybe one duel in the entire year I've been playing Master Duel, so I have zero idea what they do. But we're gonna find out together. If you're unfamiliar with this show, if you're new here, this is a blind deck building show. We're just gonna be reading over everything, learning what the cards do together, and trying to figure out how this works. As a result, this will not be the best Icejade deck, or even necessarily a good Icejade deck. But it should give you some idea as to how to build a deck if you're new to Yu-Gi-Oh! Or if you're new to this archetype, it should give you all the information you need to know to start building yourself and looking up better builds. So with that introduction out of the way, let's jump on into things. Alright, so as always, trying to learn an archetype from scratch can be a little intimidating. It's hard to know where to start, unless they have a field spell. If they have a field spell, it's usually best to start there. Fields tend to have unifying effects. They'll give you an idea of the theme of the archetype. And in this case, we have Icejade, Cenote, Inion, Cradle, which I think I'm just going to call Cradle for short, because I don't have any idea how to actually pronounce those. When this card is activated, you can add one of your Icejade monsters that is banished or in your graveyard to your hand. Alright, so right off the bat, we're off to a kind of a weird start. Usually field spells are things that start your combos. There's a lot of field spells that will search something when you activate it. And that works thematically, right? Because the idea is you set up the play field, and usually the field will have effects that help your monster, some kind of beneficial thing. But in this case, you only want to activate the field spell when you've already started playing. You want to have a card that's in the graveyard or banished, and then activate this. So this may not act as the big unifying thing that field spells usually are. This may be more of a combo piece. But let's read the rest of it and see what else it does. So once per turn, if a monster is normal or special summoned, you can target one water monster you control. That monster, along with any face-up monsters your opponent controls, loses attack equal to the targeted monster's original attack until the end of this turn. And you can only activate one per turn. So it looks like you can just lower the attack of everything, but that also includes one of your monsters. So I assume they have either something that protects them from being attacked, or maybe a defense position monster that they don't have to worry about the attack stat. They can lower that, and then your opponent's monsters can't get over them. But you can only activate one instance of this field per turn, so the adding back, you can't do a loop or set up anything like that. Very interesting indeed. Normally, when you get to a field spell, you instantly want to put like 3 of it in there, maybe even a terraforming, but in this case, I'm not really sure if this is something you want to start out with. So from there, we usually go to the boss monsters. And in this case, they do have a synchro monster, but we're making this for Master Duel as always. And this is not only not out in Master Duel, it's not even out in America yet. This is OCG only. So from there, we just go to the monster with the highest level, which they do have a level 10 Icejade named Cosmoclore? I'm just gonna call it Icejade Cosmo. This is unofficial Cosmo support, don't tell me otherwise. It's a Water Aqua, only 1500 attack, 3000 defense. So this is perhaps a target for the field spell. You put this in defense, and then anytime your opponent summons a monster, they lose 1500 attack, which is not insignificant when they have to get over a 3000 booty. If there's a face-up card in the field zone, you can special summon this from your hand. Alright, well that's a little bit counterintuitive, but it works. I mean, that's a great way to get a level 10 on the field. It just sucks because it feels like this is something you want to set up first turn, but the field spell is something you only want to activate once stuff's already banished, otherwise you're just losing out on advantage. You can only special summon one Icejade Cosmo once per turn this way. So maybe not worth running 3 of these, because if you get multiples, you can't just like spam them all out into the field. You're not going to be able to make no rank 10 Icejades, unfortunately. Not in one turn, anyway. While Icejade okay, the field spell. While the field spell is on the field, monsters your opponent controls can only activate their effects the turn they are summoned. If your Icejade battles an opponent's monster, that monster loses 1000 attack during that damage calculation only. Ah, okay. So maybe you don't necessarily have to put this in defense mode, because not only are they losing 1500, but they also lose an additional 1000. They gotta have more than 2500 to even have any attack. So the attack stats on the Icejades themselves, not as important, because you're lowering the attack really low. As for that floodgate effect, that's very weird. Monsters can only activate their effects the turn they are summoned, which is like when they would want to activate their effects most of the time. Like a lot of the best monsters are like normal summon, do a thing. I guess that is neat in that, like, you know, you can special summon this from your hand. This is what they would call an inherent summon or a built-in summon. A summon that doesn't start a chain. So if they have something like a Borreload Savage Dragon or even like a Trident on the field, if you field spell and then special summon this, they can't activate those, because those effects can only activate the turn they're summoned, which was last turn. So is this like a go second stun deck? That's very strange indeed. I still don't quite understand what they're doing. Let's go to their next highest monster, the level 9 Icejade Creation Kingfisher. Kingfisher 9000. Kingfisher 9000. For some reason that's buried in my mind. I think that's Rugrats? Is that from an episode of Rugrats? Comment in the comments if you understand what that means. Alright, so this has 25-25, which is not bad at all. Good to know that all the Icejades don't have really low attack stats. This, especially with the attack lowering effect of the field spell and the attack lowering effect of the Cosmo, could be really, really powerful. As for its effect, you can target one water monster you control, equip this card from your hand or field to it. Alright, so we're doing equip shenanigans. That's interesting. All the Icejades are waters, right? Yeah, they're all waters. So this could essentially read, target any Icejade. An Icejade monster equipped with this card can attack while in defense position. Hello, super heavy samurais, you're looking very different today. If it does, apply its defense for damage calculation. It's literally just super heavy samurais. Okay, so this is already breaking expectations. I was like, low attack, but they lower attack, but now it's they lower attack and attack in defense. And they have decent defense stats, nothing super huge. What else do we got here? While this card is equipped to a monster, you can target one monster your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to the equipped monster's defense. Special summon this card, and if you do, return that targeted monster to the hand. You can only use this effect of Icejade Creation Kingfisher once per turn. Alright, so since this can equip to anything, and since it's essentially a compulse that also allows things to attack in defense position, I say we finally found a card that we may want to play at 3. I'm going to tentatively put this at 3 for now, because it doesn't feel like it'll be dead. Let's go ahead on to the level 7, which is the only one that's like not green, it's like whitish. It's Icejade Creation Ergrocassis. Wow, I can't pronounce like any part of Cassie. It's Cassie. Icejade Cassie. There we go. Okay, level 7, 2000. It's a tuner. So, you know, when the synchro comes out, I guess you'll have to use this. While this card is equipped to a monster, the equipped monster gains 400 attack and defense. Oh, for every banished monster. I thought it was just going to be 400. Alright, so when you equip this to something, it turns it into Gren Maju de Aiza. That's interesting. You can only use one of the following effects per turn, and only once per turn. So mutually exclusive effects. If this card is in the hand or graveyard, quick effect, target one Icejade you control, equip this card to that monster. While this card is equipped to a monster, you can special summon this card. Alright, so it's a hand trap and a graveyard trap, I guess, that equips itself. So once per turn, it can just equip itself, and then if you've got any banished cards, it gains attack and defense. And then you can't use this the turn you use that, but then the next turn, you can special summon it. So I guess you want to equip it like during the opponent's turn when they declare an attack, which actually won't create a replay. So if you have stuff in attack mode, this can activate sort of like an Honest. It equips, and they can't cancel the battle. And then once you make it around to your turn, you can attack with that. Okay, I'm also tentatively going to put this at 3 because it can jump out of the hand and equip to anything. But this is turning out really weird. I can see why people maybe didn't play this. It's very confusing. They do a lot of stuff. Super heavy Gren Maju ice barriers. Like what? Excuse me? You what? Alright, moving down the line, level 5, we have Icejade Tremora. I actually used this in my Umi deck when I did the ladder climb. You could check that out on the channel if you're interested. So we got level 5, 1500, 1500. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, special summon one water monster from your hand. Alright, so we found a way to get everything out. All the high level monsters can be summoned by discarding this. And then you can get this back to your hand by activating the field spell. Why you would want this in your hand, I don't necessarily know, because it's only once per turn. I'll go ahead and point that out. You can't just like discard, add back, discard, and summon a whole bunch. But what else does it do? If a face-up water you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this is in the graveyard, banish this card, special summon an Icejade from your hand or graveyard, except for Tremora. Alright, so it just summons another one when one gets destroyed by battle. So in addition to everything else, I'm getting Tindangle vibes. They're super heavy Gren Maju dangle barriers. This is getting very unusual. But I'm also tentatively going to put this at 3 because it lets you summon out your boss monsters. And anything else, really. Got Icejade Acti. It's a bunny girl, I think. I think it's a bunny girl. Can't tell. Comment in the comments. Level 4, only 1000, 1000. If this card is normal or special summoned, send one water monster from your hand to the graveyard, draw one card. That's pretty nice. If a face-up water monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in the graveyard, you can banish this card, special summon one Icejade from your hand or graveyard, except for Acti. You can only use each effect once per turn. Alright, so we have a way to get this thing into the graveyard, and this thing into... Does this want to be in the graveyard? No. That does not want to be in the graveyard. But this wants to be in the graveyard because it can hop out. You can cycle through that and draw a card. Pretty nice. Any kind of draw card, usually going to be something you want to play at 3. And yeah, it looks like they've got some kind of floating thing going on. There's a big tangled web of effects. This feels more like ice spiders than Icejades, but I get the thematic goings on here, right? It's this, you're freezing down the game by like, and then this comes out, and then these lose attack, and then this does that, over and over again. Alright, Icejade Tinola, another level 4, also 1000 both ways. You can send one card from your hand to the graveyard, target a water monster in the graveyard, send this card from the field to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon that targeted monster. The text bloat on Yu-Gi-Oh cards can be a little bit tricky, so it's kind of a reborn. I guess that might be useful. I mean, it feels like you're dumping a lot of stuff in the graveyard at this point. If a face-up water monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while this is in the graveyard, banish this card, special summon an Icejade from your hand or graveyard, except for Tinola. I'm not sure if that's necessarily a 3 of. I'm gonna put this at 2 for now, because it sounds more like a recovery card, although you're going to have stuff in the graveyard. Although the payoffs so far aren't great. I think I am going to go ahead for now and say we probably want this one at 3, because your ability to get it out is pretty easy, and there doesn't seem to be any search power, which is the problem. Maybe one of these spells searches or something. We'll see. But let's continue on. We've got one more monster to check out. Icejade Aegirine. Aegirine. I like eggs. Sure, we'll go with eggs. Level 3, 1,000, 2,000. Interesting. This level 3 has better stats than both of the level 4s. If it can attack in defense position, that's nothing to shake a stick at. If this card is normal or specialed, you can add one Icejade spell trap from your deck to your hand. I saw the words add one and got excited there for a second. We'll have to look at the spell traps to know what that's worth it, but we did finally find a searcher. They've got one. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets this card, or targets this card for an attack, quick effect, activate this effect. The next time this card would be destroyed, it is not. Also, special summon one water monster from your hand or graveyard, except for itself, but return it to the hand during the end phase. Interesting, so if you try to attack this or target it, it can't be destroyed and you summon something for free, but it gets returned at the end. Well, since it searches, I'm going to tentatively, again, put this at 3. If the spell traps end up being awful, maybe we'll get rid of this, but seems pretty decent. Let's look at those spells. Icejade Cradle, normal spell, very little text. Add one Icejade monster from your deck to your hand with a different name from the cards you control or in your graveyard. Interesting little restriction there, but it is just a searcher, and it is not once per turn. Hey, so if you open with multiples of these, you could just search all the Icejades in the world. So we've got the Icejade Searcher. We've got a monster that searches the searcher. We're starting to get some consistency in here. So maybe we don't necessarily need 3 of this in fact, we probably only need 1. This special summons everything. This draws a card. Okay, it's kind of coming together. We're kind of getting it. I still have no idea if we want to play the field spell at 1 or 2. Okay, let's look at what else we got here. Icejade Curse. This is a continuous spell. While an Icejade monster and the Cradle are on the field, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters that were summoned that turn. Oh, now it's all coming together, chat. So you get the Icejade Curse. Monsters can't activate their effects this turn. Then you summon out the Cosmo. Monsters can't activate their effects any other turn. Together, they've got a one-sided skill drain. You've just got to get all the pieces together, which makes me be like, considering we have so many ways to summon this. Okay, so this is now the win con, and because this needs an Icejade and the field spell, I think we're gonna put the field spell at 3. And this is also the win con. I wish there was some way to discard spells. I guess I can already tell, like, right off the bat. You know what? Let's just go ahead. Forbidden Droplet. Very rarely do I see a deck that synergizes with Forbidden Droplet so well. You've just got a whole lot of cards that have effects in the graveyard. Almost every one of them either wants to be in there or can be summoned from the graveyard or has some kind of graveyard effect. You've got field spells and continuous spells that you need to see that you probably want to play at 3. But that if you get extra copies, you can absolutely send them off with Droplet. This may even be a deck you could maybe play Twin Twisters in. In fact, let's go ahead and put Twin Twisters in the side deck. This could be more useful than something like a Lightning Storm if you're playing a deck that's going to have a bunch of floodgates on the field, where you're very rarely going to have absolutely nothing, except for like the very first turn, and you can't OTK. Alright, but let's get back on track. They have one more card, a trap. Icejade Erosion, which is a continuous trap. You can target one face-up card your opponent controls, destroy one Icejade monster you control, and if you do, negate that targeted card's effects until the end of this turn. Interesting. If a face-up water monster leaves the field by an opponent's card, except by being destroyed, and except during the damage step, you can add to your hand or special summon one Icejade monster from your deck. Wow. If they compulse you or like mirror jade you or whatever, this just gets you anything from the deck. Be like, oh, I got rid of my Cosmo, and here's another one. So the neat thing about this, right, is it's technically an Omni-Negate, because since it's a trap, you can target a spell when they activate it. So if they try to go in with the Lightning Storm or something, you can use this, destroy one of your monsters, and negate that face-up card before it resolves. So this is actually pretty powerful, and I think kind of cements this as wanting to be a go first deck. And just like that, we've ended up playing everything at 3. I'm sure there's probably some better cards that we could be playing, some more advantageous like water support that works with this, but just looking at the archetype itself, everything kind of seems good. You don't really have a dead card or a useless card. The least useful one feels like Tinola, and even she's pretty good for resurrecting all the things you're going to be discarding. This is definitely something that, like, through testing, we'd probably figure out whether or not we actually want 3 of each of these and 3 of the field spell. Alright, so again, I want to reiterate, we're playing this on Master Duel. We don't have access to the OCG stuff, but now I'm really curious. What is this OCG support? What does it actually do? Is any of it good? We're not going to put any of it in here, but let's just read over real quick so we know what Icejades are doing in the future. And we'll start with, let's start with the Synchro monster. We got a level 10 Synchro, and again, we have 1 tuner, right? Which one was the tuner? The level 7? So the level 7 plus the level 3 equals this thing. Icejade Gym Manager. That's what I'm calling it. Don't tell me otherwise. Quick effect. You can activate this effect. That's very strange text. Face-up monsters you control cannot be destroyed or banished by your opponent's card effects this turn. That's pretty good protection. Then, if you activated this effect in response to your opponent's card or effect, and your opponent has a card with that name on their field or in their graveyard, you can banish those cards. So they activate it. It doesn't negate the effect. It just says everything can't be destroyed or banished, and also banish that card, assuming it's still on the field or in the graveyard. Very strange. Finally, if a card is banished by your opponent's card effect, while this is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. Okay, interesting. Gives you some protection. I'm not sure how needed that is, but pretty neat. If nothing else, it's just a quick effect banish. What more could you need? In addition to that, they have another monster coming out. I'm just gonna call it Ron, because that's the part that I can understand. Another level 7. You can discard 1 other Icejade or water monster, special summon this from your hand. Then special summon an Icejade token, which is level 3 and 0/0. Oh, and this is a tuner. This is another level 7 tuner. So we just got a sword soul here. Summon this, summon a tuner, and does it lock you into anything? While that token is in the monster zone, the player who summoned it cannot special summon from the extra deck except water monsters. Interesting. So it is very similar to Sword Soul. It doesn't lock you into synchros, it locks you into water. So you could put these 2 out and then make, I don't know, Star Boy if you wanted to. Maybe there's some other targets. That'd be something to look into if we could play this. You can only use this effect of Ron once per turn. This card's name becomes the field spell while it's equipped with an equip card. That's weird, but interesting. It works. And there's like some, I think that's Icejade back there, or Mirror Jade. I think that's the Mirror Jade, I don't know. Yeah, so these are both probably worth running. And then they've also got this spell card, where it's like the Icejade is fighting against some kind of big dragon or something. I think the Icejades are part of like the Albaz lore. I'm not actually sure. All right, if you control a water monster and your opponent has a monster on their field or in their graveyard, so you pretty much have to activate this going second or after your opponent has hand trapped you. Take 1 Icejade monster from your deck and either send it to the graveyard or special summon it. Holy fuck. Wow. Just summon from the deck. There's so many archetypes that would kill for a card like this, and that's not even the end of the effect. If a face-up Icejade leaves the field by an opponent's card, except by being destroyed, so again it feels like anti-Mirror Jade almost, if they banish it, you can banish this card, target 1 monster your opponent controls, and banish it. Oh, you're gonna banish me? You think you can banish the Icejades? I'm just gonna banish you right back. It writes itself already. Wow. These might actually be playable. I don't know. By the time this comes out, we'll be in the middle of like Tearlament and or Sprite format. There'll be a lot of power creep. If this stuff was out right now, I'd definitely be playable. Hell, this might even be playable now. I mean, I don't think it's like Diamond 1 material, not consistently anyway, but I certainly see the potential in it. It's got some things it can do. Alright, so now that we've got the entire archetype down, the next step is to fill in the rest of the deck with tech cards and stuff. Now, my intuition, the thing I would probably do if I was building this myself, is to just put the Master Duel tax in here, you know. 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Called By, and maybe I'd remove 1 or 2 of these to get them to all fit in there. But on the last video, people were saying they're kind of tired of seeing that, and I'm tired of seeing it too. That's why they need to ban Maxi. They shouldn't include a card that's a must include in every single deck. But for the sake of making the episodes a little bit more interesting, let's try to find some other tech cards. And I've mentioned this, I believe, in another episode before, but the best resource for that is a website called Yugopedia. At least that's the site I like to look at. You can also search on YouTube. You can also ask around on Discord. There's a lot of resources. I think Reddit might be useful for Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck builds. But I find this to be pretty good. Not only can you get some lore stuff, but they have a thing down here of recommended cards. And these are not usually like the best options you could possibly have, but I'm already looking at some stuff like, oh hey, Barrier Statue of the Torrent, you say? We're already being cheesy. We're already playing a deck that has a one-sided skill drain. Maybe that would be something we'd like to add on to here. Let's go ahead and we'll just throw 3 of those in here because we have ways to just special summon a water monster from the hand. And we also have ways to get monsters on the field without normal summoning. So it's not too hard to just like, you know, put Barrier Statue of the Torrent in there. Another tech card I've noticed on here, something that I've used in water decks before, is Ice Barrier. When an attack's declared involving your opponent's monster, you could change that attack to 0 and negate its effects. Just a permanent negation. Also, it can't change its battle position, which I forgot about because it's never come up really. More importantly, you can banish this card from your graveyard, send 1 level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to the graveyard, then add a water monster from your graveyard to your hand. And then until the end of your next turn after this resolves, you can't special summon except for water monsters, which is not a problem, because we're all water monsters, baby. Every last one. So let's go ahead, put Ice Barrier in there, and that can actually search with Foolish Burial Goods. This will send a spell trap straight from the deck to the graveyard, and then that allows us to search things out. So some of our brickier cards, like, none of our high-level monsters are super bricky, actually. It also means we can run 1 Gamma Sail because now it's searchable. Having a searchable Kaiju, especially on Master Duel, where it's best of 1 format, pretty useful, I would say. I think for now, just to kind of make this, let's take all the, like, high-level monsters, and we'll put them down to 2 because now we have a way to get into all of them. The Icejade itself, we could probably put down to 2 as well because you don't really want to set it as much as you want to use it with Foolish Burial Goods. It's just you can set it. Let's go ahead and bump this down to 1. And there we go. We've got a nice 40 card deck. We won't necessarily always want to go 40. Maybe we'll want to go higher at some point. But let's start out with that and we'll see how it goes. We also should put in an extra deck. I don't feel like this is really set up for extra deck stuff. We mostly want our monsters on the field. But once again, Yugopedia is our friend here. Let's just go ahead, open that back up. And they have a list of a whole bunch of monsters that we could get in here, including Egyptian God Slime. Must be fusion summoned or special summoned by tributing 1 level 10 aqua monster with 0 attack. Alright, so if you have the Cosmo and it gets attack lowered, you could make that. I don't think it's really worth it. That's the thing about Yugopedia, is like they'll put every possible thing you could use that has any kind of synergy on here. Most of them are not things you would actually want to use, but it's good to familiarize yourself with what's at least possible. Alright, so using the Yugopedia, I just quickly filled in the extra deck. Again, most of this not important. It's just like, Oh hey, we've got waters, Mistar Boy makes them more powerful, might as well play 3. Abyss Dweller is a powerful water monster. Even if you're locked into waters, you can still make it. You can make Stealth Kraken. We've also got a very limited set of synchros because we've got a level 7 tuner and level 3 and 4 non-tuners. We can make level 10 and level 11 synchros. The only one we can make consistently without locking ourselves out is Chengying, which I mean, still pretty good. But you can also potentially make Baronne de Fleur or a Star Eater. If it gets released in Master Duel, Psychic and Punisher could be really good. And you can also just play this with like Pot of Extravagance. Put a bunch of 3-0s, put a bunch of nonsense, and just put this in here for more draw power. Now, there is one thing I found that is pretty useful, and that's Marincess Coral Anemone. This is 2 water monsters, and you can target 1 water monster with 1500 or less attack in your graveyard, special summon it to a zone this card points to. But this essentially means so that if Cosmo gets into the graveyard, you can turn any of your other monsters, any 2 of them, into this, and then just summon this back out of the graveyard. Or if you have some way to get it into the graveyard, say with Ice Barrier, this can be a way to get it back. So you'll probably want to play this and maybe even play it at 3 regardless of what you're doing. But everything else is optional, and you could probably play stuff like Pot of Extravagance. Speaking of other stuff you could potentially play, White Howling, possibly decent, especially against Runic. This can negate a spell if they have a spell in the graveyard, and you have a water monster. And then finally, Supreme Sea Mare. This is a fairly new card, level 4 water monster, also an Aqua. If it's normal or special summoned, send an Aqua from your deck to the graveyard. During the end phase, tribute this card, target an Aqua in the graveyard except itself, add it back to your hand. Just Foolish Burial for Aquas. Alright, so now that I've got a deck I can actually sit down and play, it's time for the most important part of learning a deck, which is playtesting. You can think about the theory all you want, but until you sit down and actually play out at least some test hands, you're not gonna fully grasp how it works. So let's do some of that and see how it ends up working. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going first. Now we're ready. Let's go ahead. Foolish Burial goods. Let's be good with our Foolish Burials. So we're gonna use the Ice Barrier, and we're actually going to send Tremora. And then we're going to add Tremora to our hand, because there's 2 things I want to normal summon here, and I can't do both of them. So we're going to use this effect, we're going to discard it, and we're going to special summon this in defense mode. And when it's summoned, we get to search an Icejade card. And we're going to go for the one that searches a monster, because that's probably the best one. And then we're going to activate that. And then we're going to search, yeah. Then we activate the field spell, which allows us to get back our Tremora. We can now special summon this because we have the field spell. And then we're going to normal summon the barrier statue and set a card. So there we go. It's not a great amount of floodgates. We probably wanted to get the continuous spell, but there was no way to get both of these. Joker's straight. Jack's Knight, King's Knight, Queen's Knight, all night. Gotta get it every night, unless you wanna fight. Okay, that's a pretty good top deck. So we can normal summon this, right? We can use its effect to discard the Tremora, draw a card, and then we can make Coral Anemone using Acti and this. And then now that we've got the anemone, it can bring back this. And when this is brought back, because when it's special summoned, we get to search a card. So we can now get the Icejade Curse, and that's the complete effect lock. They can't activate monster effects the turn they're summoned, and they can't activate them later. And there's hand destruction. Well, we would have had it, chat. We were close to having it. Fortunately, we still got cards we could do. So, you know, let's go for this one. But I'm not really worried about it because we've still got the effect monster locked down. Let's just go to battle and hope they don't have Mirror Force. Control no cards. You could special summon one Queen's Jack Knight. But you can't summon them because I've got a barrier statue. But I mean, you get to draw a card, so there's that. I mean, if you ever wanted to draw a card, there was your opportunity. There we go. And now they've banished a card, so I could get 400 extra attack, but I don't really think it's worth it. We're good. I don't have to kill my opponent in one turn. This is all about being Frozone. You know what I'm saying? Harpy's Feather Duster. I mean, that sucks, but we're still here. We're still gaming. Aruba, Jamaica, Aruba, Jamaica, 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 Jamaica me crazy, baby. Let's go ahead and use the ice barrier again. Let's grab our highest attack monster, and then we can activate the Tremora and summon this. And there we go! We win our first game with Icejade. And all it took was going first and sitting on the barrier statue, which I mean, you know, this deck does fairly well, but not the best example. Alright, so even after just 2 duels, I'm already realizing a few things about this deck. First of all, I don't think we need to be playing 3 of these, because once you get one onto the field, which is not that difficult, it can just tag itself back out from the graveyard. Another thing I'm realizing is this trap, Icejade Erosion, probably not something we want to play at 3. It's nigh useless going second, and even going first, it's only good if you can get a whole bunch of field presence on. It feels like something that you want to search turn 2 or turn 3 to really lock down the game state with this once you've got it. And then in order to help us get to that, since we've only got 2 slots, I think I'm going to go ahead and put in the Sea Mare. We'll try that out, see if that works a little bit better. I'm also considering the Extravagance, but I'm also realizing that once you get one of these into rotation, whether it's into the graveyard or onto the field, you can just make an anemone like every turn and keep bringing it back to just search a spell every single turn, and that's pretty good. Alright, going first again, and this time we don't have the statue, but we do have a couple other things. I think in this case, all we want to do is Foolish Burial Goods, send the Ice Barrier. We want to activate the Ice Barrier and get ourselves the Cosmo, because we've already got the Field Spell. Unfortunately, we're doing this where we activate the Field Spell and it doesn't do anything. It gets us no advantage, because once we've got the Field Spell, we can special summon this. And then if you got a Field Spell and a monster, you can activate this, and that's the one-sided skill drain. There you go. That's how you do it. And then we just end our turn, because we can't really do anything else. And they've got MST, which, I mean, could just have easily have been Lightning Storm or whatever. And Raigeki. Attack for 16, ouch. Okay, so I think this is where we use Tinola. Unfortunately, they've got slightly more attack than we do. Oh wait, yeah, okay, so we can use the field spell now. We can target a monster, and then target their monster, and both of us lose attack equal to the original attack. Then we activate Tinola, we send a monster, and we special summon one from the graveyard. So we can get this back out. And now we have more attack! Hey, ho, let's go! Hey, ho, attack this guy. Bada bingo, bada jango. And I forgot, this has the effect to lower the attack by 1,000, so they've got to be pretty big. Alright, they've got the Metal Reflect Slime. Does that mean we're going to be seeing the Egyptian God Slime? Yep, there's the Egyptian God Slime. Yeah, let's do this. Everyone loses 1,500. Oops. Ouch, my most of me. Activate the Tinola, but it came back. Alright, so now we can go ahead. We're going to normal summon the Sea Mare. Let's use both of these effects. We can chain block with the field spell. Use the Cradle. Target this. And what are we going to send to the graveyard? This one, right? We want that in the graveyard so we can do stuff. Everyone loses something, and then we can equip this, Oh, it only equips to an Icejade. Well, that's fine. 3,400 defense is a lot of defense. Battle. Let's just go ahead and... Oh, I can only attack the Egyptian god slime. That's fine. We'll crash. Oh, you're not destroyed by battle. Welp. That's what I get for forgetting. We're fine. We're fine. Oh, hey, there's the Icejade curse. We've got another one, chat. So now the lock is back on again. Unfortunately, we can't get over 3,000. It ain't easy. Ah, the Icejade cradle. Perfect. This is just what I need, I believe. Yes, this is where we go for the Kingfisher. We activate this, and we equip it to this, and it turns it into a super heavy samurai. So then we can battle, attack and defense position. We'll declare the ice barrier, which negates its effect. Oh, I needed to... Ah, gosh, darn it. Well, I can still get rid of this. For some reason, I thought it still had 3,400. It does not. Oh, this deals burn damage. I completely missed that part. So, I target you, I summon the Kingfisher, and then you go back to the extra deck. We've got a Compulse, and then... Well, I could just re-equip myself. Yeah, let's just go back on there, you know, why risk it? Alright, Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and then what? Utopia! Could it be? Were the legends true? Utopia Ray. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. You lose 1,000 when you attack, and then I'll burn you for 25. The Icejades just have a web of effects. They have so many effects that your opponent can't keep track of all of them. It's like, oh yeah, and it's like you can't activate your effects, and also you lose 1,000 attack, and also this, and also that. It's a bit tricky. 2,000, oh yeah, we just battle. And then unless they've got something to stop, we win. Alright! Another victory for the Icejades against Poker Knights. Not sure how it does, well, but to try against something that has a little bit more bite to it. Alright, I get to go first. We're not in a great way, but we do have some stuff. Fortunately, I need like a field spell, and I don't have access to a field spell, I don't believe. We put this in the graveyard. Then we activate this. We summon Cosmo. We use the 2 of these to make Coral Anemone. Anemone uses its effect to bring back this thing in defense position. This searches any Icejade so we can get the field spell. The field spell lets us add back the Cosmo from our graveyard. And then because we have the field spell, we can now special summon it. There we go. So we've got at least a kind of lock, and we've got some disruption or whatever. It's not great. If there was something else I could go into that was like a Link 3 maybe, but I don't think we have anything that fits that bill. But, you know, we've got some stuff. We're doing some things. Alright, Reasoning. In a 35 card deck. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm not super worried. Let's pick level 4. Level 4 is normally what you want to do. Cubics. Alright. And we got lucky. We hit a dooza. What a doozy. Okay, using Dharma. Add that back to hand. Ah, okay. Okay, we've actually got to stop this. Activate this effect now? Yes. We're going to negate you to prevent you from getting searches. And I like how this only destroys on resolution. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. Tremora activates from the graveyard. What does Tremora do again? Special summon from your hand. Yeah, sure. Let's activate that. I did not realize this had such synergy. So it banishes, and then we get to immediately summon this back. And then, of course, this searches when it summons, so we get to add something for next turn. Unless they Forbidden Droplet. Oof, and they've got double. They're just sending everything. Everything. Ready Fusion. Okay, they've got a Peacock. My field spell. Duza not once per turn. What? There's no access code? I thought there would be an access code in my future. And here we are, sans access code. Ice barriers. Yeah, let's go ahead and activate this. Yeah, I think we just send the Kingfisher. Kingfisher, add the Kingfisher. I chose poorly, chat. All right, and then we just do the thing I was gonna do. We're gonna use these two, and we're gonna make another Marincess. Coral Anemone is your friend. Use Coral Anemone, bring back this. But she came back, and she activated her effect, and her effect let me get the lockdown, but I don't think I have to worry so much about the lockdown at this moment. I think I'd rather just have monsters and stuff. I think I'd rather have monsters. Yeah. I think for now, we're doing pretty good. Let's go ahead. Let's get the one that lets us search more cards. I like to get more cards. Let's normal summon. Let's activate. We'll discard one of the Kingfishers to draw a card. We get our Cradle back, so we can get back a Banish Tremora. And then I think we just go for game. So let's try something a little bit spicy. We're going to discard the Tremora, and we're going to special summon the Kingfisher in attack mode. No, we're not going to use the field effect. Then we're going to use the Icejade Erosion. I'm going to target you, and we're going to blow up you. That will trigger the Tremora, so that we can summon back the second Kingfisher. And then we switch this to attack mode, and we go to battle. So we go in for that. And then I believe this is enough to... Oh, wait. I thought they used all the unifications. I thought that was why they stopped. Well then, when the Jades are iced. You know what? I guess you're fine. You win this round for now. Yeah, I'm negating that. Why wouldn't I negate that? Pop. I could just negate anything. The hot red effect, yeah. It's fairly steep. Battle phase. You poor soul. You cannot activate monster effects except the turn they are summoned. And you summoned that last turn. So now you cannot put counters and move it. Once again, the spiderweb sails over you, trapping you like little flies in the ice spider jades, or something. Alright, and there we go. Not the most competitive testing, but it definitely got the job done. We got to see how this deck works, how it interacts, and it helped us refine some of the ratios a little bit. I still might change things around. Maybe one Kingfisher is enough. Maybe we don't necessarily need 3 Acti if there's more ways to search through things. Another Supreme Sea Mare might be good. Unironically, Monster Reborn might be very powerful in this deck. Overall, I quite like this deck. It's one of those decks that's very complicated, and personally I like complicated decks, not only because I think complexity is fun, but because I find that the more complex a deck is, the more it wins through the power of reading, or rather your opponent not reading. These cards have so many effects that you're reading them and it's like, okay, this is a floodgate, and you forget that it has like an attack lowering effect. Oh, this is also a quick effect from the graveyard that gains attack. Oh, I forgot that this thing in the graveyard lets them float into something else when destroyed by battle. There's just so many moving parts, it's really difficult to keep track of everything. And it's just neat. I like decks like that. And I look forward to once they get the support. This might actually be ladder climb material, assuming Sprite and Tier don't just like break the game over its knee and make it unplayable for anything but that. So I'm really glad that I looked over this. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Thank Twitch chat for joining me. Go ahead and say goodnight, Twitch chat. Aw, the community is so great. I have such a nice community. And speaking of which, if you're still here, I just want to mention, you know, if you want to join the community, I've got a patrons-only Discord. You can get on there for donating just $1 a month, which is like a pretty small ask. I guess it's technically a paywall, but it's like the shortest paywall ever. It's like as long as you have a job or whatever, you should have no problem getting on there. So consider checking that out. I'd appreciate the support. And I know the people there always like to hear from more people. And Critter gets excited too, don't you, boy? Critter, you can't do this like me. You gotta act like you're excited. This is part of the showmanship. Fine. I'll give you some more crackers. Okay. We'll talk about this after the cameras go. Anyway, thank you for coming, and until next time, good luck and have fun.